Hey, good evening, everyone. We are the Gratitude Girls.
The Gratitude Girls are in the house. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Catherine.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice and sunny where you are. And for some reason, it's not so sunny where I am. I don't know. I'm going to have to fix my lighting here.
It's always bright wherever I'm at.
Hey, that's right. You are a ray of sunshine, and I am a ray of bronzage. I'm like, I've just toned down the sunlight. I think it's all on my skin tonight. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for being here with us to our group, to our gratitude girls who practice gratitude every day. You might be watching us from that group. You might be watching us from our Gratitude Girls private coaching and training group. And you might be watching us from our Gratitude Girls business page tonight. We are so happy to be in your face. I mean, on your matter where you are, you're going to get us tonight. Oh, let me introduce myself. I am from New York. My name is Catherine Asaro Myers, and I walk in the room saying Rara's in the house. I'm broadcasting to you live tonight from lovely Niagara on the Lake, Ontario, Canada. And I'm here with my bright and sun-shining partner.
And I am Lori Delcrodecki, and I am outside in a tiny little town outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
We want to have fun. So that's what's going to happen here on a Monday night. Monday, 8:30 Eastern. If you're not having fun, expect to have some now. We're going to cover some topics. Lori, how do you want to start this evening since we are doing a trifecta?
Yeah, so I thought first, it's perfect. Like, kind of what we started off talking about is what we're kind of going into, right? Is effective communication. So, depending on from where you're at, from where you're from, your communication skills might be different because people from New York get in your face, right?
That's how I walk in the room. It's like, hello, I'm in your face. Do I have your attention now? Yeah, that's effective, isn't it? Like you totally know where you're at with me at all times. Not everybody is appreciative of that. And we understand that. So effective communication isn't really about what I'm saying to you. It's how I understand communication should be, how I could understand your communication so that I would meet you at that place. And then together we would communicate as opposed to me walking into a room like a bull in a china shop.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, effective communication is also so people understand what you're saying and what you mean by it. Like, a lot of times, what one of the things that I teach, coach, and train on is when you're going to reply to someone, especially if it's a techie, like, I mean, technical, like, not techie type, but important email, or, like where it's on edge, could be emotional or whatever, write it out one day and leave it. And then reread it the next day before you send it. So that way, all your emotions are stripped out of it. And so the same thing with texting. A lot of times you can reply back so quickly and people will take it the wrong way. But even talking, sometimes people take things the wrong way or ways that you didn't mean. And it could be just because you're from different areas of the world, right? So a lot of times it could be that, but it also could be your body gestures, your movement with your eyes, with your hands, with your mouth. If you tell me that I can't talk with my hands, that's just not going to happen because I can't sit on my hands and talk. So.
And Laura, you know what's interesting? I was speaking to someone the other day who runs a networking group, and they were saying that when people are effectively openly communicating, whether you like or don't like what's happening, an effective communicator, someone who is crystal clear, is easier to trust than someone who is, for lack of a better word, non-communicative, someone who is maybe sitting in the background, And someone who walks into a networking room or a meeting and puts, no pun intended, the cards on the table, you can form an opinion about that person. You can get a sense. So, in the business world or in the world of networking, you have a presence. And when you're not known or you're a mystery, it's hard to know, like, and trust us. So I invite you to know yourself so that when you're in the room, you're confident to be yourself. If you don't like something, it's okay to not like it. And if you want to talk about it, it's okay to say, I'm not a fan of waterfront properties. Therefore, I think the value in a mountain view property is greater. It's okay. There might be statistics to back up both. So effective communication is all about that, communicating, not listening. Listening is another skill set. So it's important to put your cards and thoughts in a crystal clear message and let it be known. And that leads us right into, have you ever called a telephone company or internet service provider company? Or have you ever called a car company or maybe a builder, maybe a developer? Maybe you bought a piece of real estate and it's in the making for 5 years, like we did. Customer service skills. How about just send out cards? Greener still, have you ever called and needed someone to help you? Well, what do you like to be greeted with? How do you like to be greeted? I think it's a really good idea to be grateful for the job that we have so that when we answer the phone or we meet someone face to face, it comes across that we're grateful to be there. Like you do, Lori, when you go to a restaurant, you leave a tip and then you leave a note. And that person, if they went to work that day not grateful, imagine how they're going to feel. I mean, you can tell the story because I just wanted to put little pieces out there.
Yes, definitely. When I go to restaurants, I always leave a generous tip, at least 20%. 20% is the minimum I leave, but I usually leave anywhere from 50 to 100%. But when I do, I always leave a note. So I carry hot pink post it notes in my purse and I always write on them and I pick out something from that server to compliment them. So everybody has bad days. And even if they were a terrible server, I still minimum tip 20% and I write them a compliment. Thank you so much for, and I leave whatever, come up with something that they did good or that they looked good or they refilled my drink good, whatever. I find one thing to compliment them for because a lot of times if somebody takes something out on you, it's not because of you, it's because of something else going on in their background. And still, I'm being provided a service. So I don't believe in not tipping at all, just because it's bad service. And everybody can have an off day. And I want people to give me the grace when I have a bad day. So I give other people the grace. But a lot of times I've had people literally look my name up on my credit card receipt and find me on Facebook and send me a message telling me thank you for the tip, but also the message. Now, if I just left a tip, it doesn't matter what I leave. They're not going to go to the effort to look me up and find me and send me a message, right? I don't put my website, I don't put any sales stuff, but my name's on my receipt, on the credit card receipt. But I just write the post-it note and I say, thank you so much for, and I leave them some sort of compliment. And then I say, have a great night, have a great week, have a great weekend, something like that. So I always do that on all of my things, as being a good customer service as a patron of a restaurant, right? But also I wanted to say one thing too with that is just with a call that we did today. So we called a certain company and we got to charge. So there's lots of companies out there that have membership fees, right? So you have a membership fee, yearly fee to that store or whatever. And so one of the cards that we had was one that's not in this area. And so, well, we didn't realize that there was a yearly membership fee. So probably paid it last year and the year before, and it didn't happen. But anyway, I noticed it this year. So we got the membership fee. So we called to cancel it because that store is not anywhere near us. And so not going to pay a membership fee for it. So we called to cancel it. We were on hold. We called and we were on hold for 47 minutes the first time till we got a person who says that they needed to transfer us to someone else. And we were on the phone for another 32 minutes before we got the next person. So the line, so we could, because we wanted to get this membership fee back as well as cancel the account. But it took that long, literally. So if you do have a company that you're running, and companies get busy, I totally get that. But have a system for people to leave a message, and then you call them back when you have time instead of making people sit there for so long.
Those are two great examples. I'm sorry you had to wait that long. Those are two great examples about being the patron and then, getting in touch with a company. So if you're your own company as an entrepreneur, if you outsource your clients, some of the work that has to be done, and your clients have to speak to someone else, or if they have to speak to you, to us, if we have to handle customer service, it's really important to give feedback to the people that we're dealing with. So if it's our customer, that they give us feedback. So it's important that we get to tell companies, perhaps this training needs to be redone. This is what happened today, and I waited for so long. At the same time, I like to ask my clients, as Lori and I do with Gratitude Girls, how was your session today? Were your expectations met? We know what the expectations are, perceived expectations. Well, you surpassed the expectations. Customer service is really important, that people also feel that there's a consistency, like Lori said. If you're busy, then leave a messaging it back to them. So think about your customer service skills as an entrepreneur, even though it's not what you signed up for, because that's not necessarily what you want, what you get paid for, but it is part of running a business. So if someone has a complaint or has a question or something that's not what you're getting paid for, you might have to learn some customer service skills to talk about how someone else can handle it if you can't. Big subject. I think we can, talk about that for hours. Looking at the time. Let's talk about creating daily habits that get results. I'm from New York. I want it right now, not now, right now. That's just the way my head rolls, and doesn't roll off, but that's how it rolls. That's how it goes. So from the time I wake up, from the time I open my eyes, it's like, I'm up, to the time that I go to work, which is the way I like to work. We'll go into that another time, and serve my customers and be with my family and have dinner and go to sleep. Our habits matter. Good habits are really valuable. When someone says, I'm going to the gym, and then you hear a month later, oh, I went to the gym. And then you hear 2 months later, oh, going back to the gym again. Oh, well, I stopped going to the gym. You might surmise that there would be a little bit of trouble in gym paradise. So we know that maybe those weren't habits, or someone who, says they're going to do something and then they're doing it like crazy and then they stop. So a daily habit is something to consider. If it's a minute a day, if it's writing the 5 things that you're grateful for, we have created a daily habit. Let's talk a little bit about that, Lori, because it's about Gratitude Girls and Gratitude Girls' daily gratitude list. You and I are both doing this every single day before we go to bed.
Yes, so absolutely. So I think it's really super important, the last things that you put into your mind before you go to sleep and put your head on that pillow. So you can write in your gratitude journal. Some people do it first thing in the morning to start their day out right. Some people do it throughout the day as things happen. I choose to do mine right before bed. If you do it at the other times during the day, I recommend that you reread yours right before bed. But nonetheless, I do mine right before bed. I write them out. And so it's 5 things, and they're specific and in detail of things that happened that day. So we can write down, I am thankful for my spouse. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my car. Those are generic things, and you should be thankful for those, and you should write those things down. But what we talk about for our gratitude journal daily is 5 things that are specific in detail that happened that specific day. So, for example, one of my things today will be I went and got my nails done. So I love my lady that does my nails. She does such a great job. They look very pretty. But so, but you write down specific and in detail, of what happened that day and what you got good out of it or whatever, what happened good to you. And so, because in the future, when bad things do happen or trying times come, because they will come, no matter what race you are, no matter what financial bracket you are, no matter what, you're going to have moments that are going to test you. And during those moments, a lot of times it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negative and think, oh my goodness, nothing good ever happens to me. Nothing good ever comes my way, right? So if you have this gratitude journal that you've been writing 5 things every day, specific and in detail, when those times come, you can help get yourself back up, right? You can cry for a little while. You can get mad because there's nothing wrong with emotions. You just don't want to stay there. So you find your gratitude journal and you read all these wonderful things that have happened to you, and that lifts your spirits back up and gets you back motivated to go on and keep you in that high vibration that's going to keep attracting more and better good things for you.
I love that. And the other thing that I really like about that, in this case, because we're putting it out there on the World Wide Web, I'm able to read yours and you're able to read mine. So it's accountability. So let's say that you're writing in your gratitude journal and that's your book private to you, and we understand that. But what if you decided you wanted to do that with us? So you could go and write your gratitude journal. If you want to be in a private group with us, we'll show you where you can do that. If you want to put it out in the world like we did, you can do that. No judgment. We are not looking for anything specific. We're doing this because we said we would. And we would hope that there is no judgment upon us, as we're not giving any judgment. Some days I don't put the detail because the detail might be too personal. So I'm a little bit general, but I want to make mention of it. But what's really important when Lori talks about that, when you write the detail and you're having a day like, oh, I can't believe it. And you realize that you were grateful for your friend, Lori, who was there for you, who provided you with what you needed at that moment without having to say a word. So if I say I'm grateful for my business partner, Lori, and then I say I'm grateful for what Lori did 5 minutes before we went live, and how Lori was a mind reader and how Lori provided me with every possible connection so that I could understand what was in her mind, and it flowed so smoothly. If I'm having a day, I'll just remember how that connection was with Lori. It will make a difference. And that's what the detail does. The detail brings you back to the moment as opposed to the generality, because the generality is it was a nice day, but specifics bring you right back into that emotion. And that's something you might want to consider or learn a little bit more about. We'll be happy to share that with you. Let's see how we can deal with conflict. How do some of us do that? All right, Lori, you want to talk about that first? Because, I'm from New York, so it's a little different for me.
Yeah, so one of my biggest things of dealing with conflict is I don't I don't like conflict. And so my children, my husband, they all know when I'm in a situation where there's conflict, I go into shutdown mode. I just, shut down. I stop talking. And but as far as like biblical goes, the Bible says a soft answer turneth away wrath, right? My mom used to say, if you don't have something nice to say, keep your mouth shut. So, right. So, but the thing is, thinking, the biggest thing is thinking before you speak, right? So when there is conflict, if you think before you speak, how is this going to be taken to this other person? If you do speak in a soft, kind voice rather than this is the way it's going to be, right? So you have that soft, kind voice and you think about how the other person might react before you speak and what is going to happen after you say the words that you're going to say. You think about that. Then you might say them a different way or word them in a different way than you would if you just don't think about it. The other person's talking and you just boom, talk back.
Right, which leads to dealing with conflict is understanding the conflict. So I invite you to outline the conflict, to understand what we're talking about. Are we speaking about something that happened just now or something that happened 6 months ago? And if we are disputing a conflict, let's keep it to the topic as opposed to, and by the way, 3 weeks ago, you just did that on top of it. So when I say I'm from New York, I like to outline crystal clear what is going on so that we can address the issue. Do we agree? Lori, do we agree to have this discussion right now? I know before when we were out having lunch, you didn't like that I paid the bill and I know it bothered you and you really want to get the next bill and I didn't want to upset you. Can we discuss it? Now, Lori can say, no, never mind. I don't want to talk about it. Everything is fine. I can say, okay, I understand that you're okay and you don't need to discuss it. And I don't need to discuss it either. I just want you to know it wasn't an insult. It was my gesture. And of course you can get the bill next time. Now that may seem like that's a simple conflict. Okay, it is, as long as we're both willing to talk about it. Sometimes, like Lori said, it's not only the tone of your voice, it's giving someone the opportunity to feel heard. So I just spoke through that, but the real way to do that would be to say, so Lori, this is what I understand. And when I say it, if Lori says, no, it's not true, then I wait. I wait until she feels heard so that I'm not talking to myself, resolving an issue that's in my head and not dealing with the real issue. And you've had misunderstandings before. And sometimes when you get to the root of the misunderstanding, you could start laughing because it's pretty hilarious that it was such a silly thing in the first place. So outlining this conflict could lead to laughter because it could really be a silly thing. Like, what are we talking about now? I forgot what was the whole issue. And resolving conflict with clarity will lead to conflict resolution. Muddy conflict resolution just leads to that little rearing the head of conflict is going to pop up again somewhere else when you least expect it and perhaps when you don't want it. So having a sweet voice, having a clear mind, sticking to the topic, asking, is this what you said? Do I understand correctly? And if not, I wait until you say it and I hear it. So like Lori said, we're not talking on top of each other. It is not a 7-layer cake. It does not get better when we put one layer over the other. Really gets better when there's some clarity. So if you have some questions about dealing with conflict, I can tell you how the Italians deal with it. Well, let me see if I can make this funny. I can tell you how the Sicilian families deal with it. It's very simple. It's quick, it's clear, it's to the point, and there's really no, and I'm just really making that as a family joke. because not all Sicilians and not all Italians are like that, but we're raised with very clear, concise directives. And when somebody is telling you what to do, you're usually pretty clear on it. So if you know how to give direction, you probably can have a good conflict resolution. Hopefully you found some humor in that as I reminisced about my family background. Let's see if we can talk about one more topic before we go into our private dining room. What do you think about sales management? Oh, how do you coach and lead your team? Do you Molly coddle your team? Do you act like their mother? Do you act like a leader? Lori, let's talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that kind of goes with the last one as far as the way Catherine explained it of, you know, being clear and concise of what you want your team to do or your children to do in your house, right? So managing a household is just like managing a sales team. You are clear and concise of what you want people to do, exactly what you want them to do, and then you inspect what you told them to do. So you inspect what you expect from them, right? So you check up on them to see if they did it the way you told it. But one other thing too is that my mom taught us was having them reply back to you what your rules were or what your direction was. This is what I'd like you to do today. This is how I want it done. Now, can you repeat that back to me? So when they repeat it back to you, if they don't say it the way that you said it, then maybe they heard it differently. And that's really huge with the same thing with communication, because a lot of times people don't hear things the way that you say them, right? So in marriages, a lot of times my husband and I do this. If we have something that we are discussing, I will say, I heard you say this. And he will say, no, I said this, and this is the way I meant it. Right. So a lot of times someone might hear something a way that it wasn't meant to be taken. Right. So you have to think about how you want it to come across. And then you want to explain that as well and hear it back.
Such a good point. And I'll make two notes on that. One is on the personal level. My husband and I were having a conversation and he said something and I understood what he said and I took an action on it. And 15 minutes later, he said, are you happy with that? And I said, well, I just wanted to please you. And he said, no, I just wanted to please you. And I said, okay, neither one of us spoke our mind. We just wanted to please the other one. So we were both working on the thing that we didn't want. So it's important, even if you are pleasing someone, to say, I'm doing this for you. Don't do that for me. That's not what I want. Because we were both being like the silent heroes. Oh, I'll just do what he wants because you're just going off on a vacation and the other person has no idea why you're doing it. So I encourage you the way you manage your team. Think about this. Will your team members understand what they're doing and where will they improve? So why should I do that? Why should I come to a sales meeting? Why should I bring a guest? Why should I tell you how many times I accomplished a task? What is the point? What will that do for me? Or will I have an incentive? Will I make more money? Will it make any difference if I just do it and don't bother coming to the sales team? I'll just do the activity. Explain as a leader to your team why it makes a difference. If you're talking about morale, if you're talking about attendance, if you're talking about people showing up in the room and that helping the new people in the room so that they don't say, wow, why am I here? Nobody else is here. Be clear on that and what you expect from your sales team. And if something happens and something has to change, then I do invite you to be communicative about that and let people understand why something is or isn't going to happen. Ghosting is not really a good idea. just disappearing without an explanation, not showing up to your meeting as a leader or as a team member without an explanation to mention in the next day or the next morning, oh, sorry, I couldn't get there. You know, I had whatever, computer finger trouble because it was Zoom meeting. Or if you were going to a face-to-face meeting, you know, I had car trouble. So I think it's important so we understand what it is that we're going to get from that. Let the team member know, why are they doing this and where they may be able to improve if they appear to that meeting. Okay, Lori, I'm looking at the time. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. It is that time. So if you are in our private coaching and training group, we invite you to our private dining room. You know the code, you know how to join us. If you're not and you would like to be, go to gratitudegirls.com/coaching, read the information there. It tells you all the details about our private one-on-one coaching, technically 2-on-1 because you get 2 coaches for the price of 1, but also our private coaching and training group where you get to come and talk with us live privately every single Monday night right after these training calls. So we will talk to you next week, guys.
Thank you for being here. Ciao.